At this point, I think it's safe to say that every Mortal Kombat has a big bad villain, an antagonist who drives the main story forward, the final boss of the game. With MK11 we have the introduction of Kronika, who is referred to as a Titan, a species that we've never seen before that rank even higher than the Elder Gods in terms of power and status. There aren't many who are aware of the Titan's existence outside of Shao Kahn and Raiden, who, up until they encountered Kronika, believed them to be nothing more than made-up stories, a race of beings who manipulate and influence time unbeknownst to everyone else. Kronika herself is referred to as the architect of the destiny within the universe, meaning whatever happens and has happened, she already predetermined. It's difficult to describe her as purely evil, because what she desires is a balance between good and evil within the universe, which does raise the question, why have we never seen her before? The explanation that we're given relates to her children, Shinnok and Cetrion. Shinnok being the god of death and darkness, and Cetrion the goddess of life and light, essentially makes them each other's counterpart. To their mother, these opposing ideas create an equilibrium, a perfect balance between the two. It is worth mentioning that she doesn't really seem to care about her children, they just kind of exist to help her create this truly balanced universe. However, this balance is broken when Shinnok is beheaded, and so Kronika decides that she must then restart the entire timeline from the beginning. The power of altering time and causing the past and present to collide is just one of the many things that Kronika is capable of, and Raiden does mention that up until now she has actually done this several times before. She is also capable of manipulating the sands, shooting beams of energy, and telekinesis. Despite this, her power isn't unlimited, and she can't just reset the timelines whenever she wants to. In order to use her hourglass, she must first draw power from the Earthrealm's life force, and we do also see her using Shang Tsung's Crown of Souls to enhance her power further. You definitely can make the point that Kronika isn't your ordinary villain because she has this higher calling that isn't innately evil, but she still is a very unlikable character. And not just because she floats around wearing this stupid piece of metal, but because she's completely obsessed with the idea of balance. Anyone who disagrees with her or gets in the way of her perfect vision is essentially erased from history when the timeline resets. If we also consider that everything happens because Kronika allows it to happen, then that does mean she's responsible for everything good. But that also means that she has no problem watching and recreating the same atrocities and acts of evil whenever the timeline is reset. Kronika's most powerful ability is her manipulation of time itself. We see this pretty early on when she brings individuals from past timelines into the present with the promise of a better life if they assist her. We then find out that Raiden, in his quest to defend Earthrealm from evil, has become Kronika's biggest hurdle to achieving this perfect balance. After Raiden beheads Shinnok in MK10, that is essentially the final straw. Kronika comes out of hiding and decides to reset the timeline once again. Raiden is one of Kronika's biggest threats, but alone he simply cannot defeat her, and this is where Liu Kang comes into the story. What she fears the most is Liu Kang and Raiden working together to stop her, which is why in every previous timeline there is a conflict between the two which ends in Liu Kang's death. During this year's story, Raiden begins to have flashbacks from previous timelines, and they are able to prevent history from repeating itself this year. Raiden and Liu Kang then work together, do their weird little fusion dance, and become a fire-thunder demigod and defeat Kronika, just as she once feared. With his new powers, Liu Kang becomes the new Keeper of Time and is charged with rebuilding the timeline from the very beginning. There's no doubt that this year's story has divided opinion and has some mixed reviews. There are some good ideas, and then there are some not so good, but I do like what it sets up for the next game. Whether or not Kronika is going to stay dead, we don't really know. But with her introduction into the story, I think it's fair to assume that there may be more Titans than just Kronika, and maybe her death will spark some kind of retaliation from the rest of them. If the Titans are then going to be the main villains of MK12, it's reasonable to believe that all of the current characters would have to band together, and Liu Kang may have to bring back previous characters from other timelines. Could this mean MK12 is going to bring back characters from previous games, if not have an entire playable roster from the entire franchise? I don't know. And if I know NetherRealm, neither do they. But let me know what your thoughts are.